Hey guys, just a quick warning before we begin. In today's interview, we discuss sensitive topics like PTSD, suicide, and etc. So if you don't feel comfortable, please do not watch. But without further ado, let's begin. Hi guys, welcome back to Infinite Possibilities, the podcast where we explore the lives of amazing people, their choices, challenges, and opportunities. And today I have a very special guest, Paul. Hello.
Hi Karen, lovely to be here.
What's your quick 1-minute introduction?
Hi everybody, my name is Paul. I'm basically, my background is military, police, security work in hostile environments such as Afghanistan, teach martial arts, I do a lot of charity work, so that's a real quick snapshot of who I am.
And you're also a bodyguard.
And I'm also a bodyguard, yes.
Wouldn't want to mess with you.
Oh my God, I'm very humble, very peaceful person.
Yeah, and who have you been a bodyguard for?
I've been a bodyguard for a lot of different people throughout my career. I'm very blessed. Just recently, I was in Vietnam as the bodyguard for Westlife, international band, Blackpink. Also in Vietnam. I look after a lady there. She's like Vietnam's #1 megastar. Her name's Mi Tum. I do a lot of work with her. She's a massive megastar there. Also Miss Vietnam, Miss Universe. Previously, I've worked and protected politicians, both here and overseas in Afghanistan. I've also worked for Fortune 500 personnel, a lot of chief executives and senior corporate types. And also previously, I've also been a bodyguard for people such as Elton John, U2, Madonna, those types of people too.
That's awesome. You've met everyone just through your career as a bodyguard.
Yeah, I've been very blessed. Yeah. I'm always grateful. I never take it for granted. Yeah.
That's cool. So we're going to go right from the beginning.
No worries at all. No problem.
What kind of kid were you like growing up, huh?
I was pretty average. Yeah, I'm just a normal person. I'm just a very simple guy. Yeah.
Were you really into sports, I guess?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I used to wag school. To wag school and basically go out and just explore, play sport. I was more into sport than the academic side because I knew from a very young age that I wanted to join the military. So the school work was put to the side. I thought I'll just do enough that keeps me interested and enough to get me through to join the army. So. And
why did you want to join the army? What age did you decide that was what you wanted to
do? About 8.
Wow.
Yeah, about
okay.
8. Yeah.
I don't know what I was doing at 8. Probably just sucking my thumb or something.
Yeah, I look at 8-year-olds today, think to myself, we're just from a different generation. But I from about 8, and then when I was 12, I forged my dad's signature and sent off all the enlistment paperwork to the army, and they wrote back saying, you're not yet at that age, but when you do reach the age of 17, contact us. And then again, when I was about 15, I tried to do the same thing, forge my dad's signature and to go off to the military.
Never learn.
No, yeah. But from a young age, I've wanted to join the military. When I was actually about 7 or 8, I actually said I want to be either a police officer or a soldier.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So, because I couldn't be an astronaut. I always want to be an astronaut. And I come to the conclusion that I'm probably not going to be an astronaut, but I could be a soldier or police officer, yeah.
Damn, and was it because you watched some movies growing up, or did your parents, were they in that kind of field?
You mean for the astronaut?
Oh, no, for the military.
No.
Or what about astronaut? Where'd you get that idea?
I just like looking up at the moon and space and think I'd love to go there one day, you know? And still, hopefully one day. It's on my bucket list. So before I turn 100, I'll tick that off and go up to space. But I from a young age, I was fascinated with military history, especially Australian military history. I did a lot of research in the different war zones that we've been in. And also I had a very kind of long family history in the military. Grandparents and great uncles that served in World War I, World War II. And I was very, very close with my grandmother, and her brother had actually served, had a very distinguished service throughout World War II. And I learned a lot from him, even though I never met him, he'd already passed away. But I think that was probably the influence for me to join the military.
Yeah. And what did your parents think? Parents, they can be a bit scared for you, you know?
No, they knew from a young age that's what I wanted to do, and
And you're a stubborn child, so nothing.
No, I wasn't stubborn. I'm a very good kid actually. I used to do a lot of stuff around the house and help around the house. Yeah, I used to do the right thing, you know. Yeah. But
sounds like the dream child, except for the wagging school bit.
Yeah. If you ask my mum, she'll probably say that. But yeah, I think it's like when I went to join, my mum didn't want to sign the paperwork because she didn't want me to go off to the army. She wanted me to wait a little bit longer, another few years, but I was very keen to join as soon as I turned 17.
Yeah.
My dad signed the paperwork, and yeah, the rest is history. Yeah.
Damn. And do you have siblings?
Yeah, I've got two brothers. Yeah, two brothers.
And are they like military guys?
No, nothing like
Doesn't
that.
run in the blood.
Nothing at all. No, nothing at all like that. No, they're the complete opposite.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, they've got no interest in the military at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a black sheep, you know, in that aspect. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And how were you in school? Were you popular? You know, you're the sporty guy. You wag school.
No. I just blended in. I was like the grey man, just blend in. No one knows I was there.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't try to. I was not one of these kids that basically stood out or wanted to make a name for myself. I was just a quiet achiever. Yeah. Just go to school, do my work, go home, or go to school, do a bit of work, wag, go and play sport, then go home. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you wag, where are you going? Like, are you at the shops or? Are you...
No, I used to go and kick the football around, and you know.
By yourself?
Oh, with some friends, yeah.
Oh,
Always to go out to the bush and practice our military skills and, you know, and do things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you had a bunch of friends that also wanted to be in the military.
Yeah. And only out of the group that I was with, there was only myself and one other. He ended up joining the military, and yeah, we both had good distinguished careers. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So right before this interview, I heard that you were a high school dropout. Tell me more.
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, it's funny because my mum looks at me now and thinks she can't believe I've got master's degrees and I'm very academic focused now. But yeah, I went to grade 12 for 3 days.
Wow.
And I was sitting in class one day and I thought, bugger this, there's more to life than just, you know, doing grade 12. So a friend of mine, he dropped out also, and I dropped over. I wagged school, went over to see him. And he said, I'm going down to the CES. So back in those days, Centrelink was called the Commonwealth Employment Service, CES. And I said, I've got nothing else to do. I'm WAG school, so I'll go down there. And we were down there, he was looking for a job. Yeah. And I saw a job, I thought, that looks all right, I'll go and give that a... So I took back then there was no internet, you know, so you have this little piece of, like a little card, it's got the details of the job. And so I took that and took it over to the counter and said to the lady, excuse me, ma'am, can I apply for this job? She rang him, and next morning I had an interview. So that afternoon I drove home and I said, hey mum, I got an interview tomorrow. She goes, what? Yeah. I said, yeah. Then,
did you get it?
Yeah, the next day I got the interview and I started the next day.
Wow.
I just pulled out of school, just said, you know, because I wanted to work for 12 months before I went to the army, because I knew that I was going to the army and nothing was going to stop me. I was very focused. You know, I did enough academic stuff at school to get me across the line.
Yeah, so what were your grades? Were you a C student?
I had some Bs, I had some Bs.
Very solid.
I had 1 or 2 Ds.
Which subjects, may I ask?
What, the Ds?
Yeah.
Maths. Yeah, I'm very good at maths, but I'm just no good when you put words and letters and numbers together. So yeah. But so that was that. And I left school, went off and worked really hard for 12 months, and it was a great kind of transition from school to working full time and then preparing for the military, and that really helped a lot. I think if I had have stayed in grade 12 and then went from grade 12 into the army, it would have been counterproductive. I really believe, because that 12 months of getting out there in the workforce, and you can think of it as a gap year, you know, a modern kind of day gap year. Yeah. And that really gave me a lot of skill sets and kind of mindset and maturity to go on to the military. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow. And so like, was your mum like against it? Like, hey, you know, finish it or? No.
They were very supportive. They basically believed, they knew what my destiny was going to be. Wow. And they were very supportive. They said, look, if this is what you want to do, and you know, they were very supportive of that move. Yeah, and I told my mum and dad, I said, look, you know, one day in the future I'll go back and finish my grade 12. You know?
Wow.
So,
and did you?
No, I went to uni instead. I went to uni, got a Bachelor of Education, of all things.
Yeah,
you know?
that's ironic.
Yeah, so I dropped out of grade 12 and didn't have the best grades, and then ended up doing a Bachelor of Education, you know, all these years later. So yeah.
Yeah, wow. And I'm also kind of curious how you make decisions. So, you're just sitting in class and you're like, nah, like bugger this, and then you left. Like, was it like this sinking feeling that you've had for a while, or was it just like something that you made like, just then and there?
To be honest, I was actually in my science class, and I was down the back. I used to sit down the back, and the teacher at the time, he was
boring.
He was like, seriously, I'd rather watch paint dry. And
shout out to Mr.
Flood. Mr. Flood.
Mr. Flood.
I don't know if he's still around, but I tell you what, he was boring as hell. And and I remember listening, and he was, the way he spoke was just like, this is how it is. If the ball goes up in the air, it must come down. It was so boring. And so I sat at the back of the room, and I'm looking out, and I saw these two dogs actually on the football field running around. I thought, you guys look like you're having a better time than what I am right now. So I said to myself, you know what? Bugger this. I'm going. And back then where we sat, we had these windows, these big windows you could open up. So we used to crank the windows open, just jump out the window, because we're on the bottom floor, and just take off.
And Mr. Flood was
he wouldn't have even known what my name was, you know what I mean?
Oh.
He wouldn't have known who was there and who wasn't there. Because I don't think he really wanted to be there either,
Yeah,
So,
you got big guts. Oh.
No, that's just what we did back in those days,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so you joined the military. Is it a dream come true? Tell me.
Yeah. I was very fortunate because a lot of my instructors were very seasoned veterans. Some had fought in the Vietnam War, and they were men. They were very, very hard men. They were, and we were young boys. And I think the oldest guy in my platoon was about 27, and for us as young 17-year-olds, he seemed very old. And so we went there. I went there. I was 17 years and 3 months old when I went there. My birthday was in December, and I marched through the gates of Kapuka, which is the 1st Training Battalion down at Wagga Wagga, 1RTB, 1st Recruit Training Battalion, and I marched in there in the 5th of March.
Wow.
So basically 3 months after my 17th birthday, I was in the army.
Yeah, and was it brutal? Like, what was the training like?
It was very, very hard. Very, very hard.
Said with a smile.
Yeah. Like, what they did to us back then was really...
Can you tell us a bit more without
sure.
getting anyone in trouble?
No, it's all good. I'm not. Yeah, it was a lot of bastardisation. That's the word we call it. Bastardisation. And some people handled it really well, and some people didn't handle it very well at all. That was a really tough time because, the training was brutal, but not only the training, but the mindset conditioning, the mental preparation, what they were trying to do. They were really trying to... What they basically did, you think about this, a bus comes in and it's full of civilians, young kids, and they have to, in 3 months, have to make them into warriors, make them into soldiers, technically make them into killers, and prepare them to go to war and serve our country. And it was a challenge, and it was very, very hard. And I used to write letters to my mum from there, and I was a very prolific letter writer, and I've still got those letters today. The only problem is back then I didn't put the date on the letters.
Oh bummer.
Yeah, but we worked it out. But it was tough. It was very tough mentally. But some of the things they do is like, you'd be out all day, you'd be out doing a lot of physical training all day. We'd start at 5 o'clock in the morning, you'd still be going until 1 o'clock the next morning. You average maybe 2, 3, 4 hours sleep a night. And everything had to be perfect, the way you make your bed had to be perfect, the way you iron your clothes had to be perfect. Everything had to be so perfect. But things like psychologically, they break you. You'd be out all day, you'd come back, and your bed would be ripped up, thrown out the window. They would rip your cupboard out. It was about trying to make you break. It was about pushing you to your limits to see how far you can go. Things like if your bed wasn't made properly, you get punished. Yeah. If your rifle wasn't cleaned, you get punished. If your uniform wasn't ironed properly, you'd get punished. And back in those days, the toilets didn't have doors on. So where the toilets were, you'd be down in the toilet block.
Yeah.
So you'd be sitting on the toilet, and somebody would be leaning up against the door frame, having a chat to you while they clean their teeth. So there's no no privacy.
Yeah.
And it was a really different world, you know. But you had to adjust. You either adjusted to it and you embraced it, or you didn't, and you really struggled. And a lot of people struggled. There was a lot of people that trying to self-harm themselves to get out. We had a guy, I remember very clearly, we had a guy, he was offering $100, which was a lot of money back then, for anybody that would break his leg. He was literally asking people to break his leg so that he could then get out of the training.
Oh, why?
I know,
Can't he just put his hand up?
No, because once you signed the contract and you enlist, back in those days, you had to serve your time, yeah.
And how long is that time? Is it a 1 year contract?
3 years or 6 years. So, yeah. And so I originally signed for 6 years and then continued after that. But some would sign for 3, some would sign for 6, yeah.
Wow, and I have to know, did someone break his leg?
Somebody tried. Many people tried to break his leg, yeah, put it that way. But there was a lot of things back then because, back in those days, if you were homosexual, then you were basically, that was forbidden. Yeah. So those types of things, when I look back now, there's a massive shift in the mindset and the way they did things back then. What was accepted back then is not accepted now. And, but yeah, it was very, very, very tough times, yeah. Yeah. But I loved every minute that I did.
I don't understand that second
I know.
phrase. Why?
I think it's because, look, the army draws different types of people, or the military draws different types of people. But it was something that I was so ready for. From the age of 12, I started training. So I was running 5-10 kilometres with packs on my back full of bricks and rocks and stuff. Yeah. So I started from 12, 13, 14, really starting to prepare my body and my mind. And then that year of working before I went off to the military really helped me with my mind. And so when I went there, even though it was hard, mentally I was prepared for it. It was physically, it was so demanding. Mentally, it was very demanding, but mentally for me, I used to smile because I used to say to myself, no matter what they do, they can't kill us. Yeah. So no matter what they dish out, just accept it. You've got 3 months here. And, the old saying, when in Rome, do what the Romans do. So just jump through the hoops and put up with all the BS and put up with the bastardisation, put up with all the brutalness, and you'll come out a better person. And so...
Damn.
But a lot of people didn't make it. I think we started with 60 and I think we only end up with about 35 or 40 that finished. Yeah. It was really, really tough, yeah.
So it's just a 3-month period of intense.
12 weeks of just intense bastardisation, brutal training. And but we got taught how to shoot, we got taught how to bayonet people, we got taught, navigation, we got taught how to live in the field, we got taught a lot of, amazing things. And many of the things that I got taught back then, I still remember today and I still use them today. So it's been, and I think in life, I always say to people, whatever you learn, it comes full circle at some point. Yeah. So what you might learn, 10 years ago, you might think, I'll never use it, but at some point in your life, it'll come back, it'll come full circle. Yeah. So but it was great. It was a great time. It was a really, really great time. I loved it. I loved every hour of it, every minute of it.
Did you ever almost break during those 3 months?
No, I remember back in those days, we had no internet. We were allowed to call our family about, I think it was after 4 weeks, we could call our mum or, our dad. And we had, back in those days, you get your 20 cents and you put them in the phone, and stuff like that. Yeah. And I remember calling my mum once, and I think, I just said to my mum, I feel I'm a bit homesick. I just wish I could come home and see my family. But I never broke as far as like the mental or physical challenges. No. It was just, for me, there was no other option. You had to put your head down and do it really hard and get through it, or you're a failure. Yeah. And for me, because I wanted it so bad, I wanted to be in the military so bad that I just embraced everything.
Wow. Were you the top student then?
Back in those days, we had different like top students for different things. Yeah, and I was, I received an award for outstanding performance for a couple of different things. Yeah,
damn.
But there was one case there, there was just a lot of different things there that we did, which, were wonderful. It's different now. The military's different now. The mindset's different. The training's different now.
Yeah.
I think there's a place for the type of training we went through. There is still a place for that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, young people these days, I don't think they could handle what we went through.
Yeah.
A lot of young people, yeah. You get a lot of young 17-year-olds now, and I doubt very much unless they can take their PlayStations or their iPads and that, they won't. It's a different mindset now. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And so tell me what happens next after the 3 months of training.
You go off and you basically, depends on what special skills or what area you're going into. So I become what we call a combat medic. And so I got sent off to a place in Victoria, basically the School of Army Health, or we used to call it the School of Army Filth. But so we got trained to be combat medics, and again, it was a very intensive course that we did, like a 6-month course, and it was almost like a 3-year registered nursing or 3-year paramedical course.
Wow.
Crammed into 6 months, and we had no days off. Well, we had Sundays, but on Sundays you were studying or preparing for the week ahead. So it was a really full-on program, and but again, those skills that I learnt back then, I still use today.
Yeah.
And so that was in Victoria. We did that, and then that was full-on training. It was very intensive training. Yeah. And but again, it was a good course, good program, and those skills became so important to us. And I'll give you an example. On my very first day, so I finished doing a year of all my training.
Yeah.
I got sent to Townsville, posted to Townsville, and my very, very first official day as a combat medic, I was on an afternoon shift. I got there, the afternoon shift started at 3. I got there at 2:30. I was so excited, ready to go. And by 2:45, I was helping do CPR on a young soldier who'd been hit by a car. On my very first day as a fully accredited medic, within...
Launched into the deep end.
Straight away, yeah. It was like, and I was 1 month short of my 18th birthday.
Oh,
yeah, wow. 1 month short of my 18th birthday. And this guy was about 19. And we tried to save him. Unfortunately, he died. But we brought him back. Then he died. Then we brought him back, and he went into cardiac arrest. And we brought him back several times. Got him to the hospital, but unfortunately, he died. Yeah. So that was my first kind of like exposure to doing my actual job. And when I got back to base that evening, I had blood all over me. I had vomit. I had feet. I had all sorts of stuff all over me. So. Yeah, it was very difficult.
Yeah, and did you choose combat medic?
Yeah, I actually wanted to do that. Yeah, because I knew it was a job that you can go and do a lot of different things in the military. So it's kind of such a versatile skill set that you can go into different branches of the military. So you're not just restricted, because I don't like just kind of like the normal. Yeah. Like I don't like Monday to Friday 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So I wanted the job in the military which would allow me to go to other organisations, different departments, learn their skills, and also impart my skills and my knowledge too. Yeah. So it was a really good choice.
Yeah. Damn, I'm surprised because, growing up, you're this kid, I've always wanted to be in the military, and then here you are, you're like serving almost like a doctor.
The military offered me to go off and become a doctor, and so we did a lot of things back then. We learned how to put tubes down people's necks, like cannulation, IV cannulation, intubation down there. We used to, we did a lot of stuff back then which would not be allowed to be taught or used, but we were very, very well trained, very well taught. We did like courses in microsurgery, like how to suture. I remember doing a 6-week program on how to do basically suturing, but microsurgery, like really fine type stuff. That was, things like that. So it was really important because I wanted to do a job where, if I had to take life, I can take life, but also equally, if I can save life, I can also save life.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's
sides of the coin.
It is, yeah, and that's kind of become very prevalent also later in my martial arts journey. Also, it's good to, as one of my masters in Japan has always said, it's easy to take a life, but it's not easy to save a life. So he said, before you learn to take a life, you want to be able to save a life too. So yeah.
And then tell me more about being on the battlefield.
Uh,
How do you deal with the stress of the moment?
Look, I was fortunate because when I was in the military, my time, I served overseas, but more in a training capacity as a mobile training team, and I was training Indigenous forces, how to operate in their environment. So that was a great opportunity. As far as the battlefield goes, that wasn't until much later in my career in Afghanistan in 2012, 2013.
Yeah. How do you deal with everything that you see? Can you?
I think
people come back with a lot of PTSD.
They do, yeah. And I unfortunately I became a victim of PTSD.
Yeah.
And but it's about how you deal with it, how you accept it. So when I got diagnosed with PTSD, I had chronic PTSD. For many years, it was kind of like I was embarrassed. It was taboo. You didn't talk about it. But now I'm an advocate for mental health, and I do a lot of things to help people with mental health. But I think for a lot of veterans or first responders, because having a military background and a police background, and then working as a contractor in a security contractor in Afghanistan, I think it really depends on you and how you deal with it yourself, because some people find it very hard to deal with the traumas that they've been through, so they self-medicate. A lot of people self-medicate with alcohol, substance abuse, these types of things, where I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke, I don't take any illegal substances. So for me, I put my energies into other things, such as my martial arts, or over the last 4 years, yoga. Which has been such a godsend. So I think it depends on the individual and how mentally strong they are. And that's not to say that people that self-medicate or take their own lives and that they're weak. It's nothing to do with that, because they've got a lot of demons. But I think it also depends on your environment, who's around you, what are the type of people around you, what type of help are they trying to offer you. But I also believe that at some point you need to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself the question, do I want to stay like this, or do I want to get better? And I've even been down that path where I've tried to commit suicide. I'm actually a survivor of suicide.
Oh, I'm glad you're still here.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Like, I used to wake up every morning for about 3-4 years and just not want to be here. I used to think of ways I could end my own life and do it, And then I got to a point where I actually tried to take my own life. And fortunately, when I look back, what I said to you earlier about the mathematics side of things, seriously, I won't go on the specifics because the people that are watching this, I don't want them to know, give them ideas. Yeah. But what I actually did, if I had focused more at school on maths, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. So it's all about measurements and weights. All I'll say is that, So after that incident, then because I was literally seconds away from going into cardiac arrest or fixation, and then I had this epiphany, and I thought, you know what? No, there's more to life. There's more to me. I've got more to do on this planet before I go. And then it was a fight to save myself. Then, you know what I mean? So after all that happened, it really gave me a different perspective on life. And then since then, every morning I wake up and think, you know what? I really appreciate to be alive. And what can I do in this world? What else can I tick off on the bucket list? And that's how I look at life now. So I think when it comes to PTSD, you got to look at yourself at some point in the mirror and ask yourself, what you want and how you want to be helped and what you need to do for yourself before anybody else can do it for you. Yeah.
And if you're comfortable, for PTSD, for someone who hasn't experienced it, what is it like for the audience? Is it like you are kind of stuck at one moment and it just keeps playing?
Look, PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, or some places now they call it just post-traumatic stress, not so much a disorder. But things like you can be triggered, for example, sometimes, for example, body odour, which people they don't understand, but in some of the environments that I've been in overseas, some of the different countries I've served in overseas, people have got a distinctive body odour. So if I walk past somebody in a shopping centre and they walk past me and then a couple of seconds later the body odour passes by me, that can actually set me off. That takes me back to a particular place. Or particular dress that people might wear, the clothing they might wear. If I can't see a person because I can't see anything except their eyes
Yeah.
because of what they're wearing, that can also trigger me off too. That's not to say that everybody, is bad.
Yeah.
It's just that with PTSD, that's what some things that trigger you off. So things such as noise,
Yeah.
smells, sights. You might be watching a movie and that might kind of take you back to a traumatic experience that you encountered. So there's a lot of different things with PTSD, and nightmares, basically intrusive thoughts. So I quite often have an intrusive thought about people that I couldn't save, or people that died in my arms or something like that. So I see their faces almost daily. And they come and visit me, and they'll visit me in my dreams and my sleep and stuff like that. But I'm used to it now. I've got a lot of good. I've had some fantastic intervention, and I'm able to understand it a lot clearer now. And I understand that that it is what it is, but it doesn't mean that it has to affect your life. It doesn't mean you've got to change your life dramatically. You understand what it is, and then you deal with it and then move on from there. Yeah. So, and as I said, it is. It can be very hard, but again, I think the big thing for me is that I don't self-medicate with alcohol, drugs, anything like that.
Once you start, it's hard to pull yourself out of that.
100%, yeah. Like once you, and the thing that people ask me all the time is they say to me all the time, how come you're not an alcoholic? Because after everything you've been through, like why don't you drink? No, I think that's, to me, drinking and substance abuse is almost just like a Band-Aid. You just cover it, you peel it away, it's still there.
Yeah.
You're better off doing other things like, for example, hot yoga.
Yeah.
Which we're both into, like,
Yeah, it's brutal.
Hot yoga is the best thing ever. It's so good for, I'm an advocate for anybody with mental health issues, anything at all. You go and do hot yoga. I'm telling you now, it'll change your life for the better. It makes you a much better person, and makes your mind stronger.
Yeah. Damn.
So that's a little bit about PTSD. And look, you know what? Somebody whoever's watching this, might actually be a sufferer of PTSD.
Yeah.
They may well be, and you don't have to be somebody in the military or be in the police or be a first responder. People can experience really traumatic experiences, and that can set them off, and they end up having, PTSD. The biggest problem I find these days is a lot of people want to put PTSD as a label, and they want to just take on that label without being diagnosed. And then it kind of like, it detracts from those that generally are sufferers of PTSD. So
Makes sense. And then, so how long were you in the military before you went to be a federal agent?
I was in the military for 15 years before I joined the federal police, but I've had a total of about 20 years military experience. Yeah. So even after I joined the federal police, I went back and did more time in the military, in a reserve capability. But so 15 years in the military. Then I went into the Australian Federal Police. So basically, straight after 9/11, it was a case of what do I do to help defeat evil? So I thought I'll either go back to the military, or go into the Australian Federal Police, or apply for one of the intelligence organisations. So I applied for everything and got offered pretty much everything, and then thought to myself, which is the best fit for me? And again, something I can tick off my bucket list in life. So I accepted the offer from the Australian Federal Police. Which was tough. Because I think I mentioned it before, when we went through all the selection process. This was in Sydney. I was living in Sydney at the time, and there was about 500 people in this big auditorium in the middle of Sydney, and they were all sitting for the psychometric testing, all the aptitude testing. And out of that 500, we were told only 6 of us had made the cut for that intake.
Impressive.
So.
And what's the kind of day-to-day for the federal agent? What do you guys do?
Look, it depends on which area you work in, what type of team you work in. Any type of law enforcement organisation's got a massive number of different fields that you can work in. But I was very fortunate because I went to Canberra. I did all my training in Canberra. We did 6 months training down there. I was very blessed. I was student of the merit, so I got like top student on that, you know, particular course.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dropped out of year 12, top student.
Yeah.
Good flex.
Yeah, but you know, obviously my military experience had helped me a lot going into the federal police, and that was at a time where they were trying to recruit a large number of federal agents, but they weren't watering down the standards. So thousands and thousands of people were applying, but they're only going for, you know, there was only a small number of positions. So yeah, it was training in Canberra was very tough.
Not as tough as the military?
I think, look, some parts were probably tougher and some parts were much easier because I'd already walked that path in the military, you know. But we had a really kind of wide variety of different people on the course. There was 20 of us on the course that started. I think we only end up with about 16. And but that was people from all walks of life, different backgrounds and stuff like that. So there was a couple of us with military experience that certainly stepped up and took on leadership roles within that training course. Yeah, and it was good. It was a really good program. Very hard. So we did 6 months in Canberra. Then you go to Sydney or get sent to Melbourne, wherever you go, and you do another 12 months. And at the end of that 18-month process, if you get through it, you get a Diploma of Public Safety Policing or Diploma of Policing, and then you get assigned your particular teams that you go and work in. So I was lucky. I worked on the second Bali bombing. I was involved in helping out with that. I also worked in narcotics, did a lot of drug stuff, did financial crime, money laundering, financial proceeds of crime. I also worked in some covert units, human intelligence, like source handling, basically recruiting human sources, which I won't go into too much detail, but that in itself is a very, very important job. I also worked in a diplomatic team where we basically protected Prime Minister, high office, what we call high office holders, or very senior politicians and that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, tell me more about the bodyguarding. So what's that experience? Because you've been doing that for a very long time.
I've been doing bodyguard work, before I joined the federal police. Yeah. Throughout my military career, I was doing a lot of work on the side, doing a lot of bodyguard work on the side. But yeah, the federal police, obviously there's restrictions of what I can say, but I was very heavily involved in protecting John Howard when he was the Prime Minister, and that was a real eye-opener too. It was a wonderful experience. Look, I did 10 years in the federal police, and it was a great time, great 10 years. But was involved in UN, peacekeeping missions overseas, overseas peacekeeping, peacemaking missions. I was involved in training. I was a police instructor for a period of time there. I was very fortunate. I trained people from the air marshals, the tactical teams. I trained people from different police agencies from around the world. It was a great opportunity.
Yeah, damn. And so how, if I were to sort of imagine day in the life of a bodyguard, how does it happen? Do you guys take shifts for, sleeping, or how do you rearrange yourselves? If we have one person in the center, do we have one person to the side, other side, and one in the front and back, or? Yeah,
look, when it depends on who you're looking after. With anything kind of government stuff, I won't go on the methodologies, but because when you're protecting high office holders or politicians and that, there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of methodologies that we use, which if people in the public found out, then they could
don't disclose.
Yeah, but when it comes to I'll give an example. Say in the corporate world of bodyguarding or in the celebrity world of bodyguarding, sometimes you might be working with a small team, sometimes you might be just working one up.
Yeah.
So, if you're working one up, it's really difficult because you're trying to be there 24/7 with the client.
Yeah.
You're trying to be there to provide security for that person or persons. You're trying to give them advice. You're trying to also, you need to liaise with their particular teams too, their minders or their support staff and that. So you've got to be very versatile, and you've got to be very diplomatic in some ways when it comes to them, because it depends on the client too. You might have a very good relationship with the client, or the client may not be a particularly nice person. I've worked with people in the past where I'd never work with them ever again.
Yeah.
You know, some celebrities I've worked with have been nothing but just rude and obnoxious. You know, and there's been some clients that I've worked with where after a couple of days I've actually just called it through and said, no, that's it, I'm not going to work with them, because maybe ethically or morally they might be doing things, and you see that, and you don't like that. You try to be transparent, but for me, when I see somebody crossing the line and they're going into a more of a criminal side of things, I don't want to be involved with that. So you've got to have your own morals and your own ethics too when it comes to, bodyguarding. Do you cross the line for money, or do you maintain your morals and your ethics too? So got to take that into consideration. But I've been generally fortunate. Most of the people I've worked with have always been friendly. Some have been very rude to me. Some have been absolutely outstanding. Like for example, Miss Universe, I did. She was absolutely outstanding. The guys from Westlife, they were great. You two they were wonderful. There's been a lot of good ones, but there's also been ones there which, haven't been particularly nice. Yeah.
Have you ever had to take a bullet for someone?
No, I haven't. No. If you get to that point where you got to take a bullet, then your planning's something's gone wrong. Yeah.
Damn. What about like a knife slash? Probably.
No, not a knife. But I've actually had to stop people attacking or trying to overzealous. They're overzealous with their particular fans or their, because a lot of people out there in the world, when they look at a celebrity, they have this mindset that person, what they see on television or in a movie, is how that person is in real life. They become very fixated on that. And like for example, in the kind of the mid to late 90s, I did a lot of work with Home and Away. Like the TV show Home and Away. A lot of the stars that have since gone on to be big stars, and there's particular people from that show where the general public believe that's what they're like. And so therefore some fans out there can be very overzealous and very, very dangerous.
Have you dealt with like celebrity stalkers?
I have, many times, Well, don't know if you've ever heard of singer, Emmy Award singer, Leanne Rimes, American singer called Leanne Rimes, and when she came to Australia, there was a lot of stalkers chasing her. When I was in Vietnam recently, there's a lot of stalkers over there. It depends on who the person is, It depends really who they are. But there's been a number of occasions where I've actually looked after people. There's one particular gentleman, an Australian celebrity, I won't say his name, but he was receiving a lot of death threats from people overseas, and he also had the head of an animal dropped at his front doorstep, because again, people perceive what their persona is on a television show. That's what they're like in real life. But it's often nothing like that. Separate, it can very, very much so. So there's been times there where I've had to deal with, some dangerous stalkers. There's times where I've had to deal with people trying to physically harm the person. So you got to basically stop them physically. But no guns and knives. Not here. When I was in Afghanistan, and we were protecting the Australian ambassador to Afghanistan, we were fully armed all the time, fully armed, body armour, rifles, guns and stuff, because there was always a threat there that we're going to get attacked. And there were times there where we actually did get attacked. So we had to actually protect all the Australian diplomatic staff.
Damn. And how do you, so if we were talking about like being a celebrity bodyguard, how do you tell if like a fan is actually going to hurt them?
It's a really good one.
I was like watching on YouTube or something, like you'd have it where the fan is like wrapping the celebrity in a bear hug, and you can't exactly like give them a punch. Look, for me, what I do is I look at the crowd, I study the crowd. So say before the celebrity arrives, I'll go there and I'll check the crowd out, and I'm looking for particular things that within the crowd. So I'm looking for different characteristics of a person. So for example, if you've got say 1,000 people there and they're waiting for their idol to come in, and say most of them will all be cheering, they'll be all excited, and that. But when you look in the crowd and you see somebody that's just looking straight ahead, there's no emotion on their face, they don't have their phone out, they're just stone cold, just that 1,000-yard stare, what we call the 1,000-yard stare.
and you can tell they're very fixated and they're processing in their mind, and they're not showing any emotion. That's the person I'm looking at. That's the person I'm looking for. So we always look for the eyes, look for their hands, see what's in their hands. Are their hands in the pocket? Are their hands out? We're looking at their eyes also. We're trying to understand what's going on in their mind at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more. There's a lot more to it than just there's a lot more to it than just looking at a person. And with experience, you can pretty much pick up individuals in a crowd, and you can say right and call it through and say, hey, go off the brown jacket, just watch him.
Remove them before
No, we just watch them.
Oh, that's hard.
We watch them and make sure that, if they do anything out of the ordinary. But it's a trade craft that you develop over many, many years. And that is that you can I can look in a crowd now and I can pick people straight away.
Wow.
Because just their body language, just the way they act, the way they look at me.
Yeah.
If they know that I'm there as the bodyguard, and they look at me, they might be looking down, they don't want to look at you, they don't want to maintain eye contact. So I was just for example, 2 weeks ago, I was in Vietnam, I was in Saigon, and we did a big concert there with this Vietnamese pop star called Me Tum, and the crowd go absolutely crazy. She's like a huge megastar, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people that can't get into the stadium are outside. So when we bring her in and when we take her out, I'm talking about thousands and thousands of people, and you get crushed very easily, So in that situation, you've got fans that just want to touch her, get a signature, give her flowers, give her gifts and that, but you never know what somebody else is trying to give her.
Yeah.
Because, when you look at celebrities and you look at fans can become very obsessed with a celebrity, to the point where they sometimes feel like they're in a relationship with that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they actually they're part of a relationship, and I've seen that many times with different celebrities I've worked with. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot more to it than what people realise.
Yeah. Damn. So we have those fans that are not fans, but like maybe those people that have the 1,000. What did you say? 1,000 miles.
We call it the 1,000-yard stare. Basically, they're just looking straight through you.
Yeah. And do you also have it where there are the people that are taking photos and they seem very happy?
Yeah.
But they also have.
Yeah.
Are you able to still?
You've got to be
detect something slightly.
There's no guarantee that you're going to pick everybody out, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
If anybody says they can pick it, no, it's not the case. But we've got a pretty good success rate, and we've had a very good success rate so far when I've done a lot of these jobs, and that is to identify potential threats, call it out, and then sure enough, 9 times out of 10, that person or persons try to then do something, and we basically pull them up. So there's a lot of psychology that goes into it. So actually, that's one of the things I love doing just as course of my life, is I like to just study people. I go in the shopping centres and I'll just sit in the food court and just
watching,
I people watch all the time. Yeah, because when you sit and people watch, you can pick up things that you could never ever imagine. With humans, because humans are creatures of habit, and sometimes humans do things. And if you watch them, you'd be surprised what they do. Yeah.
Are you ever able to just turn off that instinct? Because it can be so tiring just to go down the street and see everything.
No, I can pretty much pick up everything around me. Yeah, it doesn't worry me at all. It's just part of who I am. It's my DNA. I can go to the shops and I'll be able to tell you what people are buying, if they're right hand, left hand, what they're carrying in their bag, if they're using their card or their cash. I'd be able to do, I can go to a set of registers and I can tell you pretty much afterwards exactly who was there, what they were wearing, what they were buying, what was in there. And that's not because I'm doing it. It's just subconsciously you pick it up. Yeah.
Wow. Does being a bodyguard affect your sleep? Because
do
you wake up at the slightest noise? Surely you're always kind of ready for action?
I'm a bit of an insomniac anyway. I don't normally go to sleep until 3, 4 in the morning.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then I wake up around 7 or 8 o'clock. So
not much sleep at all?
Yeah, I'm used to. One day a week I'll get 7 or 8 hours sleep, but generally I average about 3 to 4 hours sleep a night. Yeah. But I've been doing that for a long time, so I'm just used to it now. Yeah. So but it doesn't. I think it depends on the type of work you do. But being a bodyguard or a close personal protection officer, what do you want to call it? There's different words for it, different names for it. But it's just like any job. You know, if you're working long hours, you get tired. End of last year, I was in Saigon working with Westlife, and that was 5-6 days, and it was very long days. It was like 20-hour days, long days, very tiring, and a lot of hard work. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
So yeah.
We're gonna go to the next topic.
Okay.
Martial arts.
Yeah,
So,
martial arts. Yeah.
Like, when did you start doing martial arts, and what was your first?
Sure, I started martial arts when I was 11.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been doing it for a while now. I started off in karate.
Yeah.
And I was inspired by Bruce Lee. I was inspired by the Karate Kid, you know, the original Karate Kid. I was inspired by, you know, a lot of those old, you know, Chuck Norris, those types of, you know, founders, you could say, of modern martial arts. And yeah, I saw martial arts, and yeah, I remember riding my bike home from school, and I used to get bullied at school a lot. I used to get bullied a lot at school, and I was picked quite a fair bit. There was a gang at school. They used to pick me all the time, and
damn.
Yeah.
For any particular reason? Were you like particularly short or easy to bully?
I think it had a lot to do with my skin colour, the fact that I was also just, you know, quiet kid. A lot of reasons, you know, a lot of reasons and stuff like that. Back in those days, there was no such thing as, you know, racist type subjects and stuff like that. You know, no one really cared about that type of stuff. I was just targeted by a group of kids at school who they had nothing better to do than try to be bullies and attack people. So yeah, they did a lot of bad things to me. And so then I remember one time riding home from school on my bike, and I went past this. It was a croquet. You know, croquet is where the ball and the little yeah. And it was a croquet club. This is in North Queensland, where I come from, and it had a little sign saying karate classes here. I thought, that'll do me.
Yeah.
So I rode home. I said, Mum, can I learn karate? She said, if you want, no problems. Save your money, get your gear. I said, no problems. So I started doing karate. Wow. Yeah. And after about 6 months, this gang tried to hurt me again. Yeah. And they followed me into the boys' toilets. Yeah. And normally they would walk out first, but on this occasion, I walked out first.
Wow.
And ever since then, I hate bullies.
Wow.
I hate bullies, yeah.
But I love it. 6 months of karate, done and done.
Yeah, and I was really diligent. I studied and trained really hard, yeah. And every time I trained, all I could see was their faces. Yeah. And I knew what I was going to do to them. Because, like, you know, when you get your head shoved in the toilet,
yeah, and flushed
in the urinal and stuff like that, and they're doing bad things to you, yeah, I was embarrassed to tell my teachers, I was embarrassed to tell my parents and stuff like that. So yeah, but once I started karate, I knew exactly where my destiny was with those guys. I knew exactly what was going to happen to them.
Wow,
you know?
must have been some sweet revenge.
It was, yeah. It was really good. So yeah, and then I continued my martial arts, but then, you know, karma comes back sometimes. And when I joined the army, I had 2 black belts in 2 different karate systems, because I'd been training, you know, for 6-7 years, and I was training sometimes 4 or 5 times a week, you know. And so when I eventually joined the military, I was involved in a situation down in Victoria where there's a group of us that was attacked. So there's about 7 or 8 of us soldiers, and we were attacked by about 60, 70 guys, and at a local town. They didn't like us because we were young, we were fit, we had short hair, we had, you know, a bit of money, and the local girls liked us, and most of these guys had long hair. They didn't like us at all. So they attacked us, and yeah, and that changed my direction, because I got seriously injured. My karate didn't work. It didn't work at all. It worked on the first person, but it didn't.
Too many people.
Yeah, but also because a lot of martial arts are very linear. They're just one direction, very linear. And I got seriously injured, and pretty bad. I woke up about 5 days later.
Crap.
And yeah, that's what I thought too at the time, you know. Yeah. And I remember the doctor saying to me, he said, Private Johnston, you know, are you okay? You have any questions? And I just said, you know what, Doc? That karate shit doesn't work. You know, that's exactly what I said to him straight away, you know. And that was my first thing I said to the doctor. And my head swollen, broken jaw, all sorts of stuff, you know. Eye socket was all popped out and all this type of stuff. And after that, I then went on this journey to try to find a martial arts some martial art that would help me on the battlefield, on the streets, in my home, wherever I'm being attacked. Yeah, and then I went down a different path. Then I finished karate. Nothing wrong with karate for you guys that are listening. There's nothing wrong with karate. Just find somebody that can understand the difference between what you learn in the dojo, what happens in the real world, because they're two different places. So yeah.
Is it that like you want? So how would you sort of explain the difference for someone who doesn't know?
Yeah, like for example, there's a lot of martial arts, and I'm very traditional, but I'm also very modern, and I respect all martial arts. But some martial arts are only designed for competition, not for the real world. Some martial arts are designed for inside the dojo and not the real world. So if you're doing a martial art and you're doing it for competition, no problems at all. But don't expect it to work in the real world, because the real world, violence in the real world, it's not choreographed like in martial arts schools. It's completely different. So if you want to train for self-defense, learn a type of martial art or system, some type of self-defense system, such as like Krav Maga, which is ideal for real-world self-defense. But if you want to learn something like competition, I've got a colleague, a friend of mine. He was a master. He was actually a Taekwondo master. He was a world champion Taekwondo. He was a master. Did it for over 35 years and got into a situation in the Philippines where he thought he was going to die. And he said that none of his Taekwondo helped him, but all the training that he'd done with me in Krav Maga, that's what came straight to his mind, first of all. So you've got to learn a martial art that's going to be suited to you and what your requirements are. If you want to do competition, great. If you want to do grappling, if you like UFC and you want to do, MMA, great. But remember, it's a competition. It's focused for a competition. There's rules. There's two people that have signed a contract to go and do that fight. But in the real world, you might be up against 1, 2, 3 or more people, and they don't care about you and your welfare. So, you've got to be, so that's what my suggestion would be.
Yeah, so tell me, what does Krav Maga have that maybe others don't?
Yeah, look, Krav Maga, which in Hebrew means contact combat. So Krav Maga was originally designed to train members of the Israeli military, their police and their civilians, how to defend themselves in a short period of time. Yeah. So like a lot of traditional martial arts where you've got to learn, you've got to be training for many, many years to become proficient. Yeah. Krav Maga is designed in a short period of time. Like for example, I could take you and after say 5 or 6 classes, you'll walk away with enough skills and knowledge to be able to, quite comfortably protect yourself. And that's not just, I'm not making that up, that's reality. And the reason I know that is because we've had some case studies where, for example, I'll give you an example of one. In fact, one of my senior guys who's been with me now for 16 years, he was in a situation 2 weeks ago at his apartment block where he basically was coming home. His girlfriend's upstairs, 2 guys were downstairs. They were both, junkies, ice junkies, and had only just got out of jail recently. And as he walked in, they were basically charging their phone. They're not from the block of apartments, and they approached him. They said, "You got any money?" He said, "Look, I don't want any trouble." And they continued to approach him, put his guard up. He started giving them verbal commands, "Get back," And then they tried to attack him. So put it this way: when you learn something like Krav Maga, it doesn't mean you're going to not be hurt. In his situation, and he's a very, 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 very good exponent of Krav Maga. He's an assistant instructor, very, very good. He had a couple of bruises in his face. He was up against 2 of these guys. We believe that one of them may have stabbed him in the head with a small blade because he needed, I think it was 8 sutures in his head, but it wasn't consistent with a punch or an elbow. It looked like it was a very clean cut. But those guys were in hospital for 5-6 days after the attack. So when the police arrested him, what he was able to do to them in a short period of time was not only to stop the threat and protect himself, but he also did a fair bit of damage to those guys. So when the police arrested him within 30 minutes, and then the police told my colleague, my student, that they were in hospital for 5 days.
Oh my gosh.
Because he did a lot of damage to them, but he did what he's been trained to do. Because again, what people don't understand is that when you're up against somebody that wants to cause harm to you, you don't know what they got. They could be armed with a knife, they could be armed with, a stick, gun, anything at all. So violence in the real world is very different to television. Violence in the real world. Violence in the real world, it's up close, it's personal, it's dirty, it's scary, it's and it's very dynamic, and it changes very quickly. So, but also, like, we had another lady, she did a 5-hour seminar with me, and she was attacked in her home with a guy who was, he had mental health issues, he was on drugs, he was much larger than her, and he tried to kill her with a hammer. He just walked straight into her house. She was preparing to celebrate her daughter's 16th birthday that day. He just walked in, followed her in off the street, and started striking her in the head and the body with a hammer. And on the kitchen bench, there was a knife there, and he was trying to grab the knife, and she told me afterwards, she rang me, and a couple of days later to say thank you. And I said, for what? And she said, for saving my life. And and she said to me, that 5 hours, Paul, it saved my life. And she said, I remember everything you taught us in the workshop. And she said, and the most important thing I remember you telling was never give up. Do not give up until the threat's finished. And she kept fighting back, and she had a lot of injuries, but she survived. So Krav Maga is designed for that. It's designed to teach you in a short period of time how to protect yourself. But then obviously it's like anything. The more you do it, the more training you do, the more proficient you're going to be.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But so rewarding, like, for you.
It's rewarding. Yeah, as an instructor, it's very rewarding when you, and that's just two of many, in many stories in that. But it's very rewarding because what it also reinforces is that what we're teaching our students works. And we're preparing them for real world. We're not preparing them for a competition or for some fantasy world. We're training for the real world. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So we're almost at the end of the podcast.
Sure.
Just a few more quick questions.
Sure.
Yeah, so the deep one. What's the meaning of life for you?
Meaning of life?
Yeah.
Okay. Train often. Okay. Got to train often, no matter what you're doing. And you got to stay safe. But the thing for me, always be humble, always remain humble, no matter who you are or who you think you are, no matter what you've experienced or what you've achieved in life, you've got to remain humble. Because the moment you stop being humble, that's when you're at most dangerous to yourself. So I always say to everybody, stay safe, train off, and always remain humble. Yeah. And that's the meaning of life for me, because I think, if you can do that, if you can stay safe, and that means, and that's like healthy choices, what you put in your body too, and where you go. And I always teach my students, if you go somewhere and you get that feeling that something's not right, get out of there. Yeah. So you stay safe, train often, and training can be, it can be anything. It can be your martial arts training. It can be, like if you do shooting, practice shooting. If you like yoga, for example, Pilates, anything at all. Go for a walk. Some type of training, because healthy body, healthy mind, healthy mind, healthy body. And that allows you to make decisions under stress. If you've got a healthy mind and it's all going pear-shaped, and things go bad, then you can quite easily be able to process what's happening and be able to achieve a positive outcome from it. So
Awesome.
So
yeah. And if you won the lottery tomorrow, what would you do differently about your life?
Nothing. I would go and donate to one of the many charities I'm involved in, but in particular the Friends for Street Children in Saigon in Vietnam. I've adopted about 40 young kids there, orphans that we don't know. Some of them don't have a birth certificate, they don't know their names, they have no parents, no families and that. So I donate a large percentage of the money for those children to have scholarships for them to travel to Australia to do study. And I do other good things for other good people. But I wouldn't.
Something for yourself, huh?
Probably just maybe get a new pair of shoes or something like that.
Wow, not even a new car. Okay. Stay humble.
I just because what, money. Obviously we all need money, but I've seen throughout my career, I've seen a lot of people with a lot of wealth, and doesn't mean they're happy. I've seen people who are multi-millionaires, but they still struggle with themselves and they're not happy, So, people often ask me, what would you do? And I wouldn't change a thing. I'd still go to yoga tomorrow. I'd still go and teach my classes. I'd still do exactly what I do. You know, sure, there's peace of mind having a few extra dollars in the bank account, but I wouldn't change anything for myself. No, not at all.
Damn.
Because I think if you try to change, because I've got this journey that I'm on, and there's all these things that I want to still achieve in life. And people say, when are you going to stop? And I always say what my mum said: when I die, you better make sure Paul's dead, because if you don't, he'll be trying to scrape the top of the coffin to get back out. You know, so you know, I'm trying to do as much as I can in life, because you know, like so many people go through life not ever achieving anything that they ever wanted to, and they get to the end of their life and say, I wish I had done that, I wish I had done that. I always say to people, no regrets. No regrets at all. Just make the most of every day you get up, make the most. Just one little thing, if that can make you a better person, can make you more educated, make you more understanding of the world, and that just every day, try to do something different every day. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
And the final question is, what is an ideal day in the life for you? It can be work-related, non-work related. What time do you wake up? What do you fill it with?
A day in a life for me?
Yeah, perfect day in the life for you.
Just make the most of the day. Like, you know, go and do a hot yoga, go and, you know, go and get a massage, go and do some work, you know, like talk to people, meet people. Like every day I get up, I don't plan too far ahead, because, you know, I always live for day by day. That's why I say to people, I just live for today, because I can't change what happened yesterday. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but today, make the most of it, because, you know, life's very short. And through my life and my experiences, I've seen how short life really is, you know. So I'm not being pessimistic, but just live for the day. Yeah, it's nice to make plans, but live for it right now. Like being here with you, I feel very blessed to be here with you, because it's an opportunity. And you know what? When I leave, who knows what's going to happen?
Oh,
you know what I mean? That's not being negative. That's just the way I look at life, because you never know what's around the corner. And the big thing I want everybody to take away from this is this. Every morning you leave home, if you're with your spouse or your kids or whatever, you tell them you love them. Every day you leave your front door, you let them know that you love them and that they mean everything to you, no matter what the circumstances are, because I have experienced it firsthand where people don't go home. And I've also been there where I've had people in my hands who will not go home. And that's something that stays with me. And I'm talking about children that have passed away in my arms, adults that have passed away in my arms. And those people, the families always say the same thing. I wish I had the opportunity just to say I love you one more time. So that's what I say. Make sure that every day you tell anybody that you care about that you love them and that they mean something special to you.
That's
so
beautiful.
But that's life. That's the day in the life of Paul. I do. I tell my mum every day. I tell my parents every day I love them. Tell my kids I love them. You know, and even people that are very special to me, I tell them all the time how much they mean to me, because
you're a cheesy friend.
Sorry?
You're a cheesy friend.
What's a cheesy friend?
As in, like, you tell your friends as well you love them.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of friends, but my friends that are in my inner circle, 100%. I tell them all the time. I always tell them how much I appreciate them. Every time I travel overseas, I always pre-do cards. So I go and get cards and I pre-fill them in and then send them off the day before I leave, and I'll send them to my parents or to my kids or to my friends, people that I care about, because you just don't know what's going to happen. And because I travel overseas a lot, you just never know what's around the corner. So
Got to appreciate life, guys.
You do. Got to appreciate every single second you're here, because life's short.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
And that heavy story.
No problems at all. You're most welcome. It's been a pleasure. And guys, watch Karen's podcast. She's doing a great job. Okay. Support her channel. Okay. Make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell, all those good things that you do. Okay. She's doing a great job. She's a great young lady. She's very, very smart. Very, very got a great heart. So make sure you support her. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. No problems at all.
That's until next time.
See you guys. Stay safe.